The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. It is post-match pish. And tonight I am joined. I did a stream for the last 2 hours, right? And it was all plain sailing. It was all smooth. Of course, that's never the case the next stream. I never do 2 streams in a row, but the Wi-Fi seems to want to work. So if I'm a wee bit glitchy, apologies. It's not going to improve my cooking anyway. So anyway, delighted tonight because we are joined by 2 guests. That's what we want. Up in the top right is Conor McCann. You may recognise him from Double Doon. How you doing, Conor?
Aye, no bad, mate. No bad. Better
Good
after
stuff,
that. It was nervy, but we got the job done in the end.
We certainly did. And you might recognise Jonathon from the Monday Club, or just for his quiff. Jonathon, what's happening?
Yeah, relieved man this evening. Could do with a stiff drink after watching that. Always seems to be the way when I come on post-match pitch that Celtic try and put us through the ringer. Don't know why that is, Russell, but I'm sure we'll dig into it a lot tonight.
Well, I had a feeling it might be one of those nights where I need to call in some big guns, and I can't think of a better pairing than used to come on. So thank you for that. Fanboyfootball.com are, of course, sponsoring the show. Yet again, we are grateful for that. We had 280 watching or 70 watching live at one point, the fan cam live earlier. So if you've not already, head over to their site. By the end of this month, there is going to be a Boyce bus section as well. I bet you're looking forward to that. I've seen 2 out of the 3 t-shirt designs already. It is exciting times. But let's go on with some post-match pish because that is what people want to hear about. It was an interesting match. At the end of the day, I had already written this banner. The relentless Celtic win again. If you cut off the rest, was it as relentless as we would have liked? Probably not. But there's 2 ways of looking at this right now. And we can go into this and go, Aberdeen, we shouldn't be allowing them back in it. Bollocks to that. Teams are going to come back into games when you're playing away. Aberdeen's arguably the 3rd biggest club in the country. They've obviously spent more than almost anyone else in the league, bar Celtic. I don't know what the other side have spent, but Aberdeen have spent a lot of money this summer as well, or this season, whatever you want to call it. They've got a bigger budget for wages than most. Yes, they've been murdered or they've had a below par season, but never will we be able to take for granted going to Pittodrie and winning. And the fact they came back in it in the second half, I think they should be doing that. Why would they not be coming back into it? It's their home game in front of their home fans under the cosh. And the fact of the matter is, the Celtic attitude was absolutely outstanding. We showed the right character. We showed the right mindset. Even at 2-2, we could have folded. I dare say earlier on in the season, we may have folded. But what actually happened was, Conor, was Celtic showed the resilience required to win a league title. They went straight up the other end and scored. And after that, actually looked a lot more comfortable than what perhaps they did at 2-1 when they were only leading by a goal then. But to me, tonight was all about the mark of potential champions. And Celtic were questioned tonight, and they came up with the answers.
Well, as you said, we were questioned. We couldn't have been questioned any more than the first 15 minutes of that second half. I mean, if you want to say we came flying out of traps in the first half, I didn't actually think it was our most kind of flawless performance, even in the first half. But Aberdeen were absolutely terrible in the first half, to be honest with you. But it kind of showed a wee bit of frailty at the start of the second half on our part, because they couldn't have been any worse, in all honesty. They were going to get that kind of bounce at the start of the second half, which they showed, and they found their way back into the game. But as you say, it took a bit of balls there to find a reply to them bringing the game back, and
big time.
You know, it's as you said, it's a mark of champions. We've got 12 games to go now. We've got 3 points tonight when we were up against it at times, and you know, we've got to see the positives in that.
Totally, mate. And I think as well, I was talking about this when we were 2-0 up on Fan Cam Live, Jonathon. And I suppose maybe the wee chink in the armour we've seen in the second half isn't all that far removed from what has been an extremely difficult season. Now, you think how far this side has come, that by the time we went 2-0 up after 21, 22 minutes, you were kind of almost, and we're all probably guilty of it, going, here we go again. That is an incredible turnaround from a team that was that was singing and celebrating in the stands. This is the day when we got our first away 3 points this season, funnily enough at Pittodrie. We have came a hell of a long way since then. And what I like about the Celtic side is undeniably, yeah, we'll talk about the game and what we didn't think went well and what we did think went well. But the summary of it for me as a Celtic fan, Jonathon, is one on a positive tone. And that is very much that we were asked questions, we answered them, Jonathon. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it maybe wasn't as as sterling a performance as we've seen in the last couple of games, but it was a different kind of performance. It was a massive 3 points at the end of the day. They had to grind it out a bit, Celtic, at times. I thought first half was quite decent. It was all right. I thought we did enough to get ourselves in front, got our noses in front, played reasonably well. And as you quite rightly say, after about 20, 30 minutes, you are beginning to think this could be another spanking. Second half, Aberdeen obviously have to mix it up to try and get back into the game. They were always going to come at us in the second half. They were always going to get chances against us in the second half. It's Pittodrie on a Wednesday night. It's not supposed to be one of your easy fixtures in the season, looking at it like that. They also get the first goal back. Then they managed to get the second so quickly afterwards. It would have been very easy for Celtic heads to have dropped, at that point. But the resilience of the team, to go and heading straight away score, it actually had, me thinking back to the Scottish Cup final under Brendan Rodgers in the first season when Aberdeen actually went 1-0 up in that final, and then Celtic responded immediately in that game as well. And I think it just goes to show there is such a belief in this team that no matter what happens, they're just going to keep grinding out results, keep winning the games. As Conor says, is not long left in the season, only 12 games to go. We've came through another massive test this evening, and it's one, that our rivals didn't pass when they went to Pittodrie either. So there's a lot to be positive about. There's a lot to be positive about from that.
Absolutely. I mean, let's look at Phil McGinley's point here, Jonathon. Now, this is so important when you look at the grand scheme of things. Now, end of the day, our last 5 fixtures have saw us travel to Tynecastle, Fir Park, Pittodrie, and a home game of Rangers sandwiched in there. And we've got 15 points out of 15. Conor, I mean, I don't know about you, but that is title-winning form. We don't want to get carried away, but do you know what? We're fans. We're allowed to get carried away. We're allowed to be excited. Celtic are passing all the hardest tests in the league championship right now, and they're passing them, some with flying colours. Tonight we saw the other side, and I'm maybe more encouraged by the fact we overcame, you know, the hurdles that were put in front of us tonight than what have been the other games where we've blown teams away. Tonight we've seen the other side, and that is exciting. And you look at those fixtures there, Conor, pick out an easy one. It's not easy to do, is it?
Oh, exactly. I mean, I mind when we're coming back for the winter break, you kind of have a wee kind of glance at the fixtures we've got coming up. That it really was a tough looking run we were on. I mean, it started off obviously with Hibs at home. Since then, as Phil rightly puts, we've been to Tynecastle, Pittodrie, Fir Park, had a game against Rangers in amongst all that. It's been a really, really hard run of games, and we've got maximum points for it. I mean, as a Celtic fan, what more could you possibly want? I mean, yes, tonight wasn't as vintage as some of the other games in the last few weeks have been, but if you were to ask any Celtic fan, 15 points for 15 out of that run of games, you'd absolutely bite your hand off for it. So, I mean, onwards to Wraith at the weekend. I think we've got a kind of probably a welcome break for league action with the next two games against Wraith and Bodo Glimt. But I mean, as you say, there's no an easy game in amongst that, and to get 15 points out of 15 is quite remarkable form, really. And
totally agree
also helps that Rangers have dropped points in amongst that, because you kind of look at that run of form and think if we can get maximum points for that, that is league winning form. And then thankfully now Rangers have dropped points, coupled with that obviously at our place as well. We've now found ourselves in front. We are the pace setters now. So no matter what they do, as long as we keep winning, that's us.
That's it. I mean, there's that side of it. What we also found tonight was, though, see the games that we've picked up points in that Phil McGinley, you know, put down, you know, which was really helpful. The thing is as well, the game tonight came with a different type of pressure. It was an away tie now as the leader of the pack, you know, and that does, in my humble opinion, bring different kind of pressure than what it does chase. And Celtic seem to relish the chase. Then once you get in front, it's all about, can you keep your composure? Imagine if our stint at the top of the SPFL had only been a matter of days. You know, it would have just, you know what I mean, from a psychological point of view, it wouldn't have looked great. I think it would have given them extra impetus that they can get away with the odd bad result and still go top. And from our point of view, it would have probably made us feel a wee bit, I don't know, it can maybe catch out a wee bit. Certainly from a fan base point of view, I can't speak for the players, but I think from a fan base point of view, we would have been, wow, is that it? Celtic have held their own admirably. We've seen a scintillating display against Motherwell, absolutely breathtaking. We've then seen us go 2-up against Aberdeen, maybe not in as great a performance first half, but you know what? Still 2-0 at Pittodrie. It's not bad at all. It's not bad going at all. We've then had adversity. We've overcame that as well. Jonathon, how important was it to see out the round of fixtures, as McGinley's put out in the wee comment there? 15 points out of 15. That's that wee mini run done now. As Conor says, take a breather. Home match against Wraith Rovers. Be able to rotate the squad. It gives you a break from league duty, if you like, as well. Is that important, you think, also? But I also want you to reflect on that wee 5-game spell and how important it was to get maximum points.
Yeah, I mean, definitely looking at those 5 games, it's some of the hardest fixtures you're going to play in any league season, let alone a season where you've had to pretty much rebuild the whole squad. I think, what was it they said tonight? I think it was only about 2-3 players actually that Scott Brown lined up against tonight he'd actually been teammates with, which is just incredible when you can consider Brown only left last summer. And, you know, you cannot take anything away from what Ange's been doing over the last few months in terms of building the team. Nobody really would have turned around and looked at those fixtures and thought Celtic will get maximum points. You know, certainly wouldn't have pre-Christmas. I wouldn't have thought. But how they've managed to just turn this around is full testament to the players and to Ange Postecoglou in terms of being able to just constantly grind out results. And they've got the fans now completely on side in terms of they don't panic when, you know, things don't go our way. We've seen us grind out a result at Tynecastle a few weeks ago, similar to the game tonight, albeit I don't feel Aberdeen had us under quite as much pressure tonight as we were in that game. And it all just points towards the fact that Celtic are still coming good. I feel as if over the last week, to touch upon your other point, it would have been a massive letdown if we had slipped up and lost top spot within only 7 days of gaining it. But you're looking at it as well and you're thinking that these players have been through the mill with this run of fixtures. I did feel there was a little bit of jadedness in some of the players tonight, but guess what? They still managed to find a way. They persevered. They got the 3 points. And I think, to be honest with you, I'm not usually a big fan of the Scottish Cup when it comes in and breaks up the weekend football in terms of the league all the time. But I actually think this break will do us some good to take a wee reset from the league, knowing particularly that we are actually still top. I think if we dropped points tonight, we'd have just wanted another league game on Saturday. But because we'd actually consolidated our position at top of the table, proven we're there to hopefully stay by beating Motherwell away, beating Aberdeen away, then we're now into a position where we can approach the weekend with confidence. And there's a little bit less pressure when we're playing in the Scottish Cup against Wraith Rovers on Sunday. And then, as Conor rightly says, Bodo Glimt on Thursday. So there is a nice little sort of spell there where we can focus on other competitions.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there is a nature in this where it can be. It must be something that's draining, not just on the park, especially the style we play. But I think there's also a side to it that must be draining mentally as well, where it's so every game. I mean, it's so overly scrutinised. I feel like, well, they might find it's overly scrutinised, but every single thing that happens in the Celtic sphere is looked at from a million different lenses, analysed on a million different media platforms, fan podcasts, etc. Every single thing an inch is dissected. And right now, Celtic are passing every single test. So from that point of view, yet again, it's been a very successful run Celtic's been on. Unfancied perhaps before the winter break, now top of the league, and probably everyone's favourite, I think, now to go on and win that league. Maybe narrow favourite, but I still think Celtic are now edged themselves into being the favourites. Obviously, being top of the league helps. Now, with that though, we have got to look to the break that we've got coming up, obviously with the Wraith Rovers fixture and the Bodo Glimt one, and then we're back into league business. But will there just be a wee bit of satisfaction amongst the team, Conor, right now that they can actually reflect on what has been, even since the winter break, more fixture congestion, 2 games a week, and now it's going to be an easier afternoon, or it certainly should be on Sunday, without being disrespectful to Wraith Rovers. It should be an easier afternoon. Do you think there'll be a wee bit of relief that they've came out of this period relatively unscathed? And, as someone mentioned in the comments, our top scorer still to come back, and our top scorer midfielder still to return in David Turnbull as well.
I don't know about relief for the players' point of view. Certainly for the fans' point of view, it's a massive bit of relief, As I said earlier, I mean, when you're looking at the start of January at that run of fixtures we had, you look at it and think, oh, don't really fancy the games at all. But as we've came through it, we came through it unscathed. The players now have the opportunity to go, and maybe a few of them get rested at the weekend for Wraith Rovers. We'll see what happens. Maybe a few on the fringes, Forest at the minute, Jonathon, maybe guys like that will maybe come in at the weekend, try and stake a claim for what's coming up. But in terms of the player, I'm not sure. They seem to be relishing every opportunity now, so I'm not even sure they would be relieved. I think this is a group of players that seriously back themselves because of the guy that's in charge, to be honest. But
I like it.
In terms of being a supporter, I'm personally mightily relieved that we've got through these 5 games unscathed. And the bonus ball now, we're top of the league and we're in control.
No, I couldn't agree more with that. And I think as well, there must have been, Jonathon, I know people don't like it, but I'm not going to justify it all the time. But at the end of the day, you have to look at your competition, right? And how deflating a feeling must it have been from that excitement they'd have got as the news filtered through. It's 2-2. It's fucking, it's 2-2 up at Pittodrie. And within 90 seconds, it's all, or 4 minutes, whatever it was, it's all just stolen away from them. I could hear them all the way in Fife here. I could hear them singing "We Shall Not Be Moved" during that 4 minutes, Jonathon. I mean, it's got to have just hurt that a wee bit more, Celtic getting that result today, Jonathon. What do you think? Do you think it has put another dent in them? When we've looked vulnerable and we might cock it up, we still come back and rise to the challenge?
Yeah, I mean, and certainly when it comes to the fans, you know, they'll have no doubt been thinking and rubbing their hands with glee at the thought of Celtic not only dropping points but surrendering a 2-goal lead and the psychological effects that possibly come with that too if they didn't go on to win the game. But, you know, as soon as Celtic get their noses back in front, it must have been very deflating over getting given way, I would have thought. And it's just one of those ones. It's quite pleasing in that sense when you win a game like this because you know it's left a little marker on your rivals too. Because of course they're going to be looking for us to slip up. You know, they're the chasing pack now. They're the ones who are wanting a favour potentially from one of the other clubs before we obviously play them again. So it's such a good feeling when you do manage to grind out a result like this. And, you know, now the spotlight is going to probably move more onto them and the pressure's been cranked up a bit more because it's going to be Celtic, I think, that are home to St Mirren when league duties recommence. And I believe Rangers go to Tannadice where they've already lost this season. So it does seem as if the pressure is now being switched over to the other half of the city for me because Celtic have been tested over this past week. A lot of Celtic fans probably wouldn't have expected us to have got 9 points out of 9. You know, from these last 3 fixtures, when you look at it, Rangers at home, Motherwell away, Aberdeen away, tough games to be playing in, particularly with the sort of rebuild that Ange's had to do. And even though tonight I didn't feel the performance was quite as impressive as the previous 2 games, they came through it and they just showed that other side to them. They just will not give up and they will dig in and they've got that grit and determination to do it. And it's the one question mark you do have over our rivals is can they do the same when the going gets tough? And, you know, the evidence of Pittodrie for both clubs suggests otherwise.
Well, I think that's an interesting point as well. And, you know, at the end of the day, we always need to be conscious of where our rivals are. I think, you know, of course, I as I've said, and I will keep repeating, the best quote Ange Postecoglou's made recently for me was, our course will be chartered by what we do. And of course it will. But a bit of breathing space at the top wouldn't go amiss, right? Of course we want that gap to extend, and the sooner the better. We want our title back. There's no 2 ways about it. Now, obviously, we've spoke, Conor, a lot about the positives of tonight, right? And the other side of Celtic that maybe we've not had to see. What is it you think with tonight's display made it such a tight encounter and made it such squeaky bum time, for want of a better term, in that second half? Because for me, in the first half, I felt we went at half time, whilst it not being, you know, scintillating football as much as it had been at Fir Park, I still felt extremely confident and comfortable going in at the break that the second half would pass. Maybe like some of the earlier games that we've played where it might just be a 0-0 second half when the game finishes 2-0. And I said in the live commentary, I would have taken that. You know, I would have taken a non-event second half. Of course, that came back to bite me. What do you think the reasons were for perhaps a slightly under par Celtic in the second half?
I thought we just came out very slow, to be honest with you, mate. I mean, as you kind of alluded to there, we had it very, very easy in the first half. I mean, I thought that's not even second gear. I thought we'd be like a third gear in the first half and we were winning 2-0. And by all accounts and purposes, should have been winning 3-0. We had a goal wrongfully chopped off. So, but I felt we were very, very slow at the box in the second half. And Aberdeen, obviously, they couldn't have been any worse than they were in the first half. They've obviously went in at half time, got a rollicking for their manager and probably their captain / assistant manager. And I mean, they came out fast. They came out with a purpose, but Celtic, I think, get caught a bit flat-footed. And when the momentum's with them and they scored their first goal, you kind of start to fear the worst. And obviously, it wasn't long before they get the second goal. And then from there, you're thinking, oh, fuck. We've been nowhere near them the first 15 minutes of the half. The pendulum swung completely the other way for where it was at the end of the first half. But, you know, all credit to this team. I mean, they picked themselves back up and it was absolutely no time at all before we got to 3-2. But I do think we get caught very, very flat-footed at the start of the second half. And it's a kind of wee reminder for going forward that we're not always going to have things going our own way. Like, Pittodrie and places like that, it's still a tough place to go. You're not going to breeze through 90-minute games at Pittodrie and just have it your own way more often than not.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I can remember games. Was it Scott Sinclair got a hat trick at Pittodrie? Edward scored as well. I think we beat them. Was it 4-2, 4-3 that day? And
4-3, I think, yeah.
that was a
4-3 on
brilliant.
Boxing Day.
Aye, I remember. I mean, that was a brilliant Celtic team for all ends and purposes. But the fact is, better Celtic teams than this. I think David Kelly said it in the comments. Better Celtic teams than this have struggled up there. Our football inside of it, when we look at the performance, Jonathan, naturally we all know it wasn't Celtic at their best. The positives we've exhausted already so far, because the positives are what stand out, because that's where we got the 3 points. Character, resilience, wanting to win, not giving up, realising they've got a lead at the top of the table for the first time. We shall not be moved, all that jazz. And of course, real quality from Jota with that third goal, especially. The way he hits the volley into the ground, he keeps his cool. So there's composure there as well. Whilst we may have had a small flat, what do you think that second half display was like? Conor feels we came out too slowly, Jonathan. I think firstly we give a bit of kudos to Aberdeen, who clearly got the message at half-time, whatever that may have been, because they seemed a different outfit. What do you think the reasons were for Celtic perhaps not being at their free-flowing best in the second half?
I think it's probably one of those ones where I think we've been a bit spoiled with how good the performances have been over the last week or two. Celtic are going to have days where they're not going to hit the dizzy heights that they did against Motherwell and they did against Rangers. Those days are going to happen. I didn't feel there was any particular overly standout players. Like Jota obviously had an excellent game, took us 2 goals. So I thought Riley was fairly good as well, particularly in the first half. But I wouldn't have turned around and say that most of the players played at their absolute top levels that we've shown the last couple of games. And it might just be a case that the games have all piled up a little bit on them and they're just struggling to maintain that level when they're having to play Wednesday, Sunday. Blips are going to happen somewhere along the line. The important thing is when the performance level isn't there, you work extra hard, you make sure you get that result done. And, for a long period in that game, for a long period in that game, we were comfortable for a long period in that game. But then, when it gets to 2 each, you are beginning to think if any team's going to potentially go on and win this, the momentum is now all with Aberdeen. So to turn round and then get the third goal so quickly afterwards was just sending a message of intent there. For me, Celtic weren't really as strong as they have been. I felt, Hatate in particular probably did look like he was a bit jaded tonight, but I think that's probably just because he's played a lot of games, just finished off in the J-League, so he could have maybe been done with coming off slightly earlier than he did. But the fact of the matter is Celtic had won the game, and that's really, when I get to this point of the season, that's really all that counts, is just getting the wins on the board. Performance-wise, I'm sure Ange Postecoglou will have plenty to take away with. And there's one thing we know about Ange Russell, is he will look at that back and he will look to correct anything he didn't like.
Well, that's true. He is very proactive that way. I 100% agree with that. Now, Conor, the substitutions Jonathan just touched on there about maybe they came in a wee bit later, which isn't like Ange. Ange has been known to make substitutions at half-time in the past before, if he's felt things weren't going right. However, for me, the first half and the second half were so chalk and cheese. I would have to side with the manager on this, that I didn't see an immediate need at half-time to make any substitutions. Have I broke up here? Does anyone froze there? No?
No.
Cool.
No.
Sound. And I think with the substitutions, leaving them later, it looks worse because Aberdeen's goals have came in that opening, 15, 16 minutes of the second half, and it makes it look like more of a focal point. But if I'd been Ange Postecoglou at half-time, unless someone was looking knackered in there, and potentially you could look at Hatate as being an example of that, but unless someone really didn't look like they were able to go back out, I wouldn't have seen much need for a change then either. Do you feel the subs were made a wee bit too late though, Conor?
To be honest, I do. I mean, I get what you're saying. I didn't think there was any need at half-time. Immediately, I mean, as I said there, we're absolutely cruising at half-time. Without really even getting into second gear, never mind first. But
yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I just kind of felt when Aberdeen were kind of putting us right under the cosh, I think that was the moment we were kind of crying out for Jackie Max. I think we maybe made that change. I mean, in hindsight, we've not really suffered for it, but I think at the time I kind of felt as if that change maybe came 5-10 minutes too late. beat on as well, maybe to calm down things in the middle of the park. Hatate wasn't having his best. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't having his best game tonight. He was kind of looked a wee bit jaded, as you said. So I think these changes could have come earlier in terms of. I mean, I don't know. Would I have brought Rogic on earlier? Possibly. I mean, but that's kind of more if we were really chasing a goal kind of after they came back. We weren't actually really ever chasing a goal. It took us about 30 seconds from taking the kick-off to get a goal again. So
true.
But I think for me, Giakoumakis was kind of the big one. Actually, to be fair to the big man, I actually felt he was really unlucky not to be starting today. I think he's been quite a kind of big factor in what we've done well in the past couple of games. Yes, he's not got on the score sheet, but he's done just about everything else right, you know what I mean? So that was maybe the only one I thought maybe could be done a wee bit earlier to kind of change an approach to the game. But I mean, as I kind of said, we've not really suffered for it because Aberdeen blitzed their way back into the game. We had an answer for it right away. So
aye.
I think it's maybe not a disaster.
I think you're right. I mean, David comes in and he's saying GG should have started. Now, I get that. I actually thought the game, just the whole vibe of Pittodrie, that type of fixture, I kind of thought had Giakoumakis' name all over it, more so than maybe many other fixtures that we play this season. Now, he didn't start. Maeda does start. Here's the debate, and again, doesn't need to be a slight on one player if you think the other one. This is all about healthy competition. I'll keep reiterating that. For me, Maeda, from what I've seen so far, is behind Giakoumakis in the pecking order. Jonathon, I'll put that one to you. How do you feel about that right now? And at the end of the day, we now have a bit of context for this because Postecoglou is on record now saying David Turnbull's likely to be back the next 1 to 2 weeks. Like he said, a couple of weeks, and he's ahead, he says, of Kyogo, or Kyoko, as he calls him. He does a mad, like, Japanese voice when he calls him that, Angie. It's quite funny when you hear it, Kyoko. But he says that basically he's a further 2 weeks back, so we've now got a straight shootout for that centre-forward jersey. It's going to be Maeda or Giakoumakis. From what I've seen so far, and including tonight, Giakoumakis for me. What do you think, Jonathon?
Yeah, well, I think anyone who's been watching the bus over the last few weeks says, well, we're no stranger to the fact that me and you are quite taken with the big man up front. But, you know, I would have to agree with you. I thought this game was tailor-made for Giakoumakis, to be honest. A physical game up at Pittodrie. Need to throw your weight about a bit at times. And Giakoumakis is the only sort of forward player that we've got that is able to mix it in that way and can mix it better than any player we've got in forward positions in that way. So for me, it was the sensible thing to start Giakoumakis. That's what I expected to happen. Maeda, I felt he was in and out of the game. I didn't feel like he did an awful lot in it. I think the benefit for him, though, is he doesn't actually have to play through the middle. Maeda, you know, he can play out wide. We've been led to believe. I think he did play out wide against Motherwell, didn't he? So there is that option there for him, whereas Giakoumakis is, you know, a straightforward number 10. He's going to be playing through the middle no matter what game it is. You know, if you're playing Giakoumakis, he has to be played as your number 10. I thought even when he came on, I thought he actually ruffled a few feathers. Giakoumakis, he actually helped get us up the pitch, helped take the ball in. I think obviously in terms of goal scoring, yes, we'd also like to see him scoring a bit more. But I don't think you can take away from the fact of what he brings to the team when he's in there. He's just a big physical presence and he likes the battle as well, Giakoumakis. And for me, I think the goals will come with him. He maybe won't be as free scoring as, you know, your Kyogo will be. And perhaps Maeda might prove to be a better finisher than Giakoumakis possibly. But for me, in a game like this where you're looking at physical presence, where you're going to have to be rough and tumble at Pittodrie, it's a battle. You want players like Giakoumakis in the team, and for me, that substitution should have probably happened earlier as well.
No worries. Now, Ian comes in. Maeda is great. Over-analysis podcasting. Now, I don't quite get that. Like, the podcast is to analyse the game. It's called Post-Match Pish. What else would you expect? And we're comparing the impact of the two players that played centre-forward for Celtic, quite an important position. And we're giving the pros and the cons of each. I don't quite see that being over-analysis in my view, Ian. And like I caveated it with, before we even went into the conversation, I would have rather Giakoumakis, but it doesn't mean it's a slight on Maeda. Do you remember me saying that? Thank you. So I think from that point, we'll brush over the over-analysis podcasting. I don't have anything that I've seen so far in a Celtic jersey to justify Maeda as great, though, either, Ian. But what I do think is there's a lot more to come, and his CV is certainly impressive. But right now, on form, for me to be big Giakoumakis, I thought he brings an element tonight, Jonathon, of chaos. I think sometimes he does unorthodox fouls. He looks like he's slipping and sliding all over the place when he's in a full-blown sprint, although he does look a bit faster than I actually looks like. I know often he's just sort of tagged with the being a physical presence sort of thing, but I think there's a lot more to him as well. I think he's super. In fact, Conor, I'll put this to you. Do you think both of them at times have shown so far since the turn of the year? Because that's all the time we're going to count Giakoumakis for me as a proper Celtic signing, because he's fully fit now and healthy. Between Giakoumakis and Maeda, I almost feel they're both a wee bit guilty of over exuberance, trying almost a bit too hard. Not the crime of the century by any stretch, but I think that's maybe both of them are too eager to impress. What do you think?
I mean, I possibly. I mean, on Maeda, I mean, I would have started Giakoumakis today, but that does. I thought Maeda actually did work his socks off. It wasn't his best game, but you know what you're going to get from a power of running, harrying the defenders, and a few chances he didn't come off for him. As I say, it wasn't his best game. I personally would have just went for Giakoumakis tonight, but I'm trying too hard. I mean, you're getting it. There's only really, the way Ange plays, there's only going to be one central striker. So I think when you get that opportunity, you're going to want to do everything you can to impress, you know. But I don't really, personally, I don't feel as if Giakoumakis in the two, I felt he was very, very useful in the two games, which were two of our best performances of the season, let's not forget, against Rangers and Motherwell in the past week. I thought Giakoumakis, yes, he didn't score, but he done just about everything else to. I mean, as we kind of alluded to, defenders didn't enjoy playing against him in those two games. He gave that Mugabe at the weekend an absolute tanking at times. But I mean, I was kind of harking back to the other day. We were kind of waxing lyrical about him on Friday, and then he played against the B United and had a beast, so I was starting to worry. But he kind of he turnn me back around again after that, because I thought the two games he was really good. But
you'll find that happens a lot, Conor. You'll find that happens a lot.
In terms of I mean, I can't fault the work ethic of the guy tonight. He was in terms of harrying defenders, chasing lost causes. I thought he was brilliant at that. Just wasn't quite his best performance in terms of stuff coming off for him. But Giakoumakis just gives you that kind of other thing we spoke about the other week. You know, he's for me at the moment, Giakoumakis shades it, but
this is the thing, though, Conor.
Might have a different point of view.
But Conor, this is the thing, mate. You say that, and Ian says he's getting a doing, Maeda. By who? Nobody's giving Maeda a doing. I don't want it to go down.
Absolutely not. No, I mean,
it's not our style.
No, I think we're all fairly positive about Maeda.
I think Maeda will do well.
The guy scored 2 goals in 4 league games he's played, 2 goals. I mean, the guy's come in and done well so far. It's just like Giakoumakis in those 2 games. I thought gave us something completely different, which I enjoyed watching. So I would have personally went for Giakoumakis, but that's absolutely no slight in Maeda.
Douglas says it's unfair to compare them.
Well. Sorry,
I think the thing is, what we're saying though, Douglas, is we're not comparing them as for their style of play, but they're both vying for the same position in the team, and that is going to be through the middle, up front. That was what it was tonight. It was either Giakoumakis or Maeda, and he had a choice to make. He chose Maeda, and we were debating would it been better to go Giakoumakis. To me, it's no big deal as long as we get the 3 points. In terms of the style of play, Jonathon, you think it is a great point by Doug, and I totally get where he's coming from. I think they are completely different types of players. Of that, it's undeniable. I mean, there was times Maeda was winning. He won one ball that was for all the money in the world, was going out for a bye kick, and he's came in behind the Aberdeen player and somehow got a toe to it and kept it in play. He keeps the ball alive, and I think Giakoumakis, to be fair, is good at that as well, just in a completely different way. But comparing them, Jonathan, we're not really trying to do that. I think we were just talking about which ones you prefer to play with.
I think when it comes to it, I think it goes back to the saying I've been using this season is you have to look at the fixture, and you play the fixture, and you play the player that you think is going to be best for you in those fixtures. I think Maeda and Giakoumakis are two different players. I think they'll both do really well in the Celtic shirt, to be honest with you. I don't see anything that makes me think either of them will be a flop whatsoever. Maeda's got a couple of goals already. Again, another one that's probably still working his way up to full fitness for me. Giakoumakis obviously had the long layoff, getting himself all sorted out. And then once he's got himself all sorted out, Giakoumakis has looked a very lively and very good player. And, as Conor rightly said, he's featured in the last couple of games, which have been two of Celtic's best domestic performances this season. And Giakoumakis has had a large part to play in that. And you know what? As we keep going back to, competition is brilliant for the Celtic squad. And it doesn't need to be a case, of Giakoumakis or Maeda. You can have whoever you please out there. But it's just one of those ones. You just have to work it out. And you're desperately trying to put me off with the comments.
I'm sorry, mate.
I'll have Tim as my name next week. Brown Warrior.
Tim's very, very good. Now, we've got a wee bit of time now to discuss one of our favourite talking points, and that has got to be Jota. Now, this guy has basically not started, apart from the Rangers game, since the turn of the year, since a serious injury. He comes back. I might just leave that Tim comment up there. He's not. He's not. He started 2 games, and there were 2 crucial ones against your league title rivals and Aberdeen away, and he contributes in both. Look at his reaction to scoring the 3rd goal, Conor, as well. How pumped up Jota looks for this as well. Not only does he bring the bag of tricks, the creativity, and the real quality as well, with these 2 goals, of course, but he also looks like someone who, for want of a better term, gets it. He looks so on the page you're looking for from a Celtic player. He has got to be now in the list of priorities for that board to do. He's got to be coming way ahead of trying to close standing sections, doesn't he?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that for me is the most important bit of business we can do in the summer. Him and Carter Vickers, to be fair. The first day of the summer transfer window, we should be sealing the 2 transfers. But in terms of Jota, I mean, you just cannot help but love the guy. You know what I mean? He's just been so infectious and signing for everything about him. He's an unbelievable football player. Seems like a brilliant wee guy to have about the place. You know what I mean? He's just. I don't think I'm alone being a Celtic fan that's really taken to Jota. I mean, he's just the guy's absolutely different class. And do you know what? I actually didn't even feel as if he had his best game tonight and he scored 2 goals. As ludicrous as that might even sound, a lot of what he was doing tonight just wasn't coming off how it normally does for a player of his ability. But he's just so dangerous. He's just got that deadly, devastating quality for. He's what a player! What a player!
I love it, Conor. Love it, mate. I think you're capturing the mood, mate, when you're saying that. I think that's genuinely how we're all kind of feeling. It's a case of he is top drawer. Now, Jonathon, Jota, we all know, has an option to buy. We all know Celtic have a fee agreed. There's nothing Benfica can do, right? So, Tim, over to you. What will Jota decide to do come the summer? Because to me, it's a guarantee that Celtic will find the 6.8 million, whatever it is, to get this guy. But will Jota decide to sign Jonathon? He gives all the signals that he would, and imagine that hairband in the Champions League.
I know, well, he rocks the hairband, doesn't he? He certainly rocks it better than either of us would, put it that way. But yes, I think it's one that Celtic, it's a no-brainer. They would have to look at bringing him in permanently. You've got to ask the question to Jota whether or not he would want to come in on this. I think the signs are looking positive that deal is there to be done. To be honest, he looks like he's loving his football. Particularly if Celtic were to win the league, you get straight into the Champions League. He can showcase himself against some of the best players in the world, and that gives him another platform to showcase his abilities on. And Celtic Park on a European night is something to behold. So I think all the signs for me point towards Jota staying. I think Aberdeen will be the least favourite team for him to want to stay. They're probably all begging he goes back, because I think he's got 4 goals of his 10 goals have been against Aberdeen so far this season. So they'll be like, please, for the love of God, Benfica, take him back. Don't let him come along at all. But if you were asking me, I think Jota, and I think Conor Vickers as well, because they've also got a loan to buy on him. I think they will both be Celtic players in this summer.
I like that positive approach.
Fingers crossed.
I like that positive approach, Jonathon. Anything else to cover, lads? That's been 45 minutes. Is there any other burning points you just wanted to make? Shall we put it to the viewers? Has anyone else got anything they want to discuss desperately tonight before we go? I think we've kind of covered it. I mean, at the end of the day, like I say, there was sides to Celtic tonight that we haven't had to see, shall we say, so far this season. And I think it was wonderfully reassuring to know that when the going got tough, to use a quote you used earlier, Tim, that we indeed got tough as opposed to getting going. And I thought tonight is as satisfying a win for me as what the big 4-0 wins are, because we've shown 2 sides to the team. Any final thoughts, Conor?
Nah, just as you say, it's like a different side we've seen tonight. It's possibly going into the last 12 games. It's an absolutely crucial side we've seen tonight. The fact we can dig out these wins when it doesn't look likely. I mean, I don't think anyone in the 60th minute tonight would have said they really fancied us to go on and win that game. The way the kind of pendulum had swung towards Aberdeen, they'd get the 2 goals back. In fact, I'm saying I personally really thought the worst. I seen Aberdeen score and I seen in my group chat folks celebrating. I thought my group chat's whole allegiance had been turned, but turns out I was about a minute behind on my perfectly legal stream that I was watching it on. So that actually kind of calmed my nerves a wee bit when Aberdeen scored. But I mean, for those that were watching it and that never had the benefit of a group chat that was a minute ahead of them, I don't think anyone would have seen Celtic winning that game at that time, to be honest with you. And you know, you could call it a kind of plucky win tonight. We've dominated large parts of the game, so I wouldn't really say so. But it's, as you say, it's a different kind of way to win than we've been used to in the last week. Different kind of way to win as opposed to the scintillating football we've been used to. But it's not a bad thing getting into the business end of the season.
That's a great point as well, Conor. I totally agree with that. As I've said on this many a times, Jonathon, there's many ways to skin a cat. Celtic's shown a different way today. It wasn't all about the glamour of pumping a team 4-0 or whatever. At times I had to get a wee bit, I was going to say ugly. It was never ugly with Jota in the team, but, maybe not so pretty at times. But, the good guys won again. That's the most important thing. There's a couple of comments coming in as well, talking about, the value Jota could generate. It's all exciting times. I think this whole squad right now, I know the Juranovic links won't go away right now either. I think if Celtic can keep on this winning run, achieve something and, something special in Europe as well, the value of these players is going to skyrocket under Ange Postecoglou. I think there was a quip there about potentially getting Jota, Jonathon, in the summer and selling him in the same summer window for treble the money. I mean, you don't want us to see us doing that, but if Jack Hendry can go for 10 million in the summer and do it to us, what the fuck could we do with Jota? It'd be unbelievable. But what I will say is it's been a pleasure to have you both on the night. Absolutely love the debate. It's been class. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. This has been Post-Match Pish. You can catch up if you've not seen it all on Spotify. We did the fan cam live earlier. I don't know if you have seen that. It was great fun. There was a crazy amount of folk watching it. I think maybe to do with a lot of people have a He's Goal subscription though these days, you know. Maybe that was the reason why. And it was on Sky. But anyway, huge thanks to Conor McCann, Jonathon, Boyce for joining us on Post-Match Pish. Let's play some music and I will see you all later. Thanks again.
The Seagulls followed Jota. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.